which I think the whole country should know, that patriarchy is above any religion. So let us not, yes, she said it in no unclear terms, and she also said that let us not mix up religion with that patriarchy, because that patriarchy is going to kill women in India, and we are not going to say that any religion prescribes to it. Thank you.
Now the floor is open. I see so many friends who would be very important to express very, very briefly. And I want to start with Professor Shafiq Advai, because he was going to be actually part of this session, and then we requested him to chair the next one. So let's start with Professor Kadwai.
I just want to ask a question to Professor Abdul Wasi, who made a very pertinent point. He just cited several examples from the life of Prophet. But the ayat Ismat Mehdi, at the outset he just discussed about what is the interpretation about it, and law of inheritance, and दो औरतों की गवाही, एक दो मर्दों की गवाही, एक दो औरतों की गवाही एक मर्द के बराबर है. What is his take on it? The first ayat Asmat Mehdi quoted, what you have said is perfectly all right, but there are some other points that are to be addressed, if you say so.
So if we can have three interventions, and then if you can just make a note of it, that way there'll be more. Meera, yes, Meera.
Thank you, Saida ji. I have a comment and a humble suggestion. I agree with Professor Farid Khan that Farida Khan that when national identities are under threat, that is the time that religious identities get underscored. And what was interesting in the exhibition downstairs was...
Upstairs.
Oh, sorry, upstairs. Upstairs.
You can't go further down.
Well, the country is going further and further down. So the exhibition upstairs was that all those women were practicing Muslim women, and like all women, handled their multiple identities beautifully. Okay. They worked for the country, and they worked for the community because the community was part of the country. My humble suggestion, because semantics matter, instead of calling it the 20th century Muslim women of India, maybe we should call it the 20th century Indian women from the Muslim community. Thank you.
Fair enough. Yeah. One more, and then we'll have a round of responses. Nishtha.
मोहिनी जी, आपका सवाल था कि UN Women क्या करेगा, and मैं समझती हूँ ये मेरा धर्म है कि मैं इस बात का जवाब दूँ कि what will UN Women do. I think for very long, the underlying principle of the UN has been leaving no one behind. But I must be honest, when we look back at some of our work, we don't exactly see that principle at play. I think the big difference after the Sustainable Development Goals is we take that principle very, very seriously. I completely agree with Farida ji कि एक मज़हब का सिर्फ धर्म नहीं है औरतों का स्टेटस पूरे देश में उठाना, and it's very parochial in fact to limit our conversation only to Islam and feminism, given that culture has superseded, and we hold close to us for some very strong beliefs that don't place women at an equal standing. लेकिन आंकड़े अगर हम देखें तो ये भी ज़रूरी है कि हम इंटेंशनली मुस्लिम वुमेन पे काम करें purely because of their location, and that we take very seriously. So as we go forward in the next 5 years of what we call a strategic note, and I will circulate it really to the rest of the audience here, I think we will intentionally start working on women, particularly women from minority communities, not just Muslim women, but women from minority communities, to first etch the role that they have already played in making the India that we dreamt of, and to ensure that the message of democracy is, we amplify the message of democracy everywhere we go and all the time, because it is the charter of the United Nations to preserve it. But also to remind everybody कि जो हिंदुस्तान की हम सोच रखते हैं वो हिंदुस्तान किसी एक मज़हब, किसी एक कम्युनिटी का बनाया हुआ नहीं है. It is an India that everybody has contributed to. So we will intentionally work on this issue. This is just the beginning. We hope to get to more substantive work on the ground, and hopefully by the end of the year we will be there.
Thank you very much. We'll take one from Farah because I rudely interrupted her. One minute.
Sorry, I rudely interrupted.
Anyway, yep. Welcome to our visitors. Please, आगे आइए, Salim साहब. Yeah, Farah.
Sorry, I just instinctively responded to Farida because she's both a friend and a colleague, and I could not agree with her more. And I just wanted to say that putting anything into textbooks in India today, when everything, history is up for grabs today. Textbooks are being rewritten, roads being renamed, emperors are good or bad depending on whether they are Hindu or Muslim. So we're not gonna have any success with that route currently in the current dispensation unless we start working with local governments. So maybe you can work with the Delhi government, for example, and try and rework some material. But otherwise, at a national level, Farida, you know as well as I do, and everybody does in this room, that's a bit of a non-starter. So we need to find other ways to amplify these images.
Thank
that was
you.
my very limited, and I apologize for
that's
having
fine.
just
Thank you very much. I just want to say that as the event is heating up, we have asked them to turn down the AC, so please relax. We were all in a very bad condition of freezing. Some people are better dressed than others. So let's, sorry, Serinapa. Yeah, briefly. Yeah.
You see, what Farida said, I will take it from there. I also asked myself, why should we focus only on Muslim women? It's a question that I think many of us will ask ourselves also, that the need for focusing on Muslim women at this point of time, well, can be questioned. But at the same time, you see, times have changed. You see, my generation who grew up before independence, we were fighting for independence, Muslim or Hindu. And we didn't grow up into only emphasizing our religious identity. I tell you, once I remember I was somewhere abroad, I had a Pakistani cousin visiting me. We came out, visited a Hindu friend by the name of Kiran, came out and he said, Zarina, appa inka naam to Kiran tha, manga shayad ye Hindu the. Abhi tak mujhe yaad hai, a moment 40 years ago, मैं ठिठक गई क्योंकि मेरे जहन में कभी आया ही नहीं था कि वो हिंदू थे कि मुसलमान थे. That was the environment which pre-independence women and men grew up. मगर इस वक्त ज़रूरत हो गई है क्योंकि मुसलमानों को एक तरह से एलियन बनाया जा रहा है और मुसलमानों का जो कंट्रीब्यूशन रहा इंडिपेंडेंस मूवमेंट में और उसके बाद भी और ख़ास तौर से औरतों का भी उसको है ज़रूरत थोड़ी एम्फेसाइज करने की. So, and I think that what Sayyeda has started a beginning, but still I think I would like to call it a Indian Muslim women.
Much, Zarinapa. I'll pass it on to maybe start with Professor Vase, but I want to relate just one little incident. Maybe I would have asked Tazeen to do it, but she doesn't want to do it. So I will. Yesterday, as recently as yesterday, Upar Thi ye exhibition mein, she was showing around and she was sitting there, and lots of people were interested. There was a film festival going on, so we had a lot of footfall. And one person walked up to her and showed a lot of interest, and then she explained, and then he said to her, so what's your name? So Tazeen said, Tazeen. So his answer was, Tazeen, and in a sari. Get the depth of it. Just get the depth of it. Your name is Tazeen and you're in a sari. So where do we begin? This is as recently as yesterday. So having said that, I pass it on now to Professor Vase and other Farida, Ismat, Mohini ji to respond, and then we'll have another round. Thank you.
जी शुक्रिया. जो हमारे दोस्त शाफिक कदवाई ने सवाल किया, प्रोफेसर इस्मत मेहदी ने कुरान की वो आयत पेश की जिसमें कहा गया है अर्रिजालु क़व्वामून अलन निसा. تو بیسیکلی بات یہ ہے کہ آپ اگر کسی بھی ٹیکسٹ کو آؤٹ آف کنٹیکسٹ کوٹ کریں گے تو پرابلم ہوگی. لیکن یہ یاد رکھنا چاہیے قرآن میں جو کہا گیا ہے وہ ایک سسٹم کے اندر کو پیش نظر رکھ کے کہا گیا ہے. ایک فیملی اسٹرکچر ہے, اس کے اندر کسی نہ کسی کو, آپ اسٹیٹ ہو, آپ سوسائٹی ہو, آپ کا کوئی سوشل اسٹرکچر ہو, کوئی آرگنائزیشن ہو, اس میں کوئی نہ کوئی جو ہے ایک آدمی جو ہے وہ کہیں نہ کہیں ایک طرح سے ہیٹ کرے گا. اس میں رجال آ گیا ہے, وہ بھی ہو سکتا ہے کہ معاف کیجیے گا میرے گھرانے کے اندر تو نانی اور دادیاں جو ہیں وہ قوام کا کام کرتی رہی ہیں, ان کی بات فائنل ہوتی تھی, تو وہ ایک خاص کنٹیکسٹ میں ایک بات کہی گئی ہے, اس کو ایک سمجھنا چاہیے اور اس پہ بالکل پریشان نہیں ہونا چاہیے. اور جب ہم یہ بات کرتے ہیں, مثال کے طور پہ اگر اکنامک سپیریئرٹی کی بات کر لیں آپ, تو حضرت خدیجہ واز مور سپیریئر اکنامکلی دین ہر ہسبینڈ. تو اس میں کوئی مسئلہ یہ نہیں ہے, اس لیے بالکل اسے اس طرح نہیں لینا چاہیے, اور نہ عورتوں کو ہرٹ فیل کرنا چاہیے اور نہ مردوں کو خطرہ محسوس کرنا چاہیے. میں ایک بات تو یہ کہنی تھی. دوسری بات جو ہے جو آپ نے کہی اور چیزوں کے حوالے سے, میں یہ بات بالکل واضح کر دینا چاہتا ہوں, اور مجھے یہ کہنے میں کوئی وہ نہیں ہے کہ جو مسلم سوسائٹی میں پرابلمز ہیں خاص طور سے عورتوں کے حوالے سے, اس کے لیے اسلام ذمہ دار نہیں ہے, مسلمان ذمہ دار ہیں. اور وہ مسلمان ذمہ دار ہیں, وہ بھی میں کہہ دوں کون سے مسلمان ذمہ دار ہیں, دوز آر اپوزٹ ٹو اسلام, جو اسلام کی ضد ہیں. اسلام نے کچھ کہا ہے لیکن وہ اپنے فائدے کے لیے کچھ اور کرتے ہیں. اس لیے یہ بات ہمیں سمجھنی چاہیے. میں نے ٹائم نہیں تھا, چونکہ میں دوسروں کا ٹائم نہیں لینا چاہتا تھا. ہمیں یہ نہیں بولنا چاہیے کہ گھروں کے اندر جو چولہا اور چکی ہے اس سے عورتیں متاثر ہوتی ہیں. اس لیے یہ کوئی میرے لیے تعجب کی بات نہیں ہے کہ جو سیکنڈ کیلیف عمر, انہوں نے بازار میں مارکیٹنگ انسپیکٹر کے لیے جس عورت کے جس کا تقرر کیا وہ مرد نہیں تھا, وہ عورت ہی تھی. تو اگر عورت جو ہے وہ مارکیٹنگ انسپیکٹر عمر کے زمانے میں ہو سکتی ہے تو آج کے زمانے میں کون سے مسائل ہو سکتے ہیں. سیدھی سادی بات جو ہے وہ ہمیں سمجھنی چاہیے کہ اسلام نے کچھ نارمز بتائے ہیں, ان نارمز اور ایٹیکیٹس کا ہمیں خیال رکھنا چاہیے. اور میرا خیال یہ ہے کہ اس میں کوئی بری بات نہیں ہے, کسی کو اعتراض نہیں ہوگا. یہ بات اپنی جگہ طے ہے. یہاں پر بات جو ہے اور بھی کیا میں بہت سے سوالات ہیں جو کہ اٹھائے گئے ہیں, لیکن میں سمجھتا ہوں کہ چاہے 4 شادی ہوں چاہے 3 طلاق ہوں, اس کا خیال رکھنا چاہیے کہ ایک سے زیادہ شادی کا پروویژن ہے, حکم نہیں ہے, اور وہ اس کے لیے خاص کنٹیکسٹ ہے اور خاص شرائط ہیں اور خاص پس منظر ہے. اس کا خیال رکھنا چاہیے. مردوں کی ہوس کے لیے 4 شادی کا استعمال اسلام میں بالکل جائز نہیں ہے اور اس کی بالکل اجازت نہیں ہے. اس بات کو واضح طور پہ سمجھنا چاہیے.
I just quickly... just a quick clarification. The thing I think actually that Muslim women, the nomenclature is very important today. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that when this first came, it was just this feeling of you just get angry that you have to explain yourself, that you actually need to have an exhibition to show that Muslim women, I mean, something that should be obvious in this country, because, these were women not doing small things in small corners, but important things within a big national struggle, and in very important ways, theatre, writing, etc. But today, I mean, just like Saida Appa said, somebody is asking you wearing a sari and you're a Muslim. Today you have to actually say that they were actually Muslim women who were part of all of this. That's what made me angry. And the textbook thing is not so much, I suppose, let's hope it's not permanent, that the present setup will move sometime. But I also want to flag that it's true that at the moment it's just absolutely horrific, and what we are faced against is something really dangerous and which has to be taken very seriously, where a community is actually being targeted in ways which are physical, psychological, economic, and every other way, in a very legitimized sense by the ruling powers. And I think that's a really dangerous thing. But I also want to flag that within education, Azra is sitting here, she's done her PhD on policies, but right through the earlier times, Shah Bano didn't happen under this dispensation. Shah Bano happened under a different dispensation. You look at our policies, you look at the signs are there. What today is telling you that those signs might have gotten in there in a kind of, thinking, okay, it'll help a little bit, it won't really harm anyone. Today we have to see where it has brought us and how harmful it can actually be. And that you need to consider it very seriously and think of, maybe in the future, let's hope this dispensation is going to go, if not in the next, 4 years, but after that, sometime we have to hope for the future. So maybe then some of these things can be taken into more serious consideration. Smaller things that were allowed to slip have to be guarded more zealously. And things have to be done. And maybe we can just start, UN Women could help with that, just creating a series of books for children or young adults who could read some of these things, even if they don't come through the schools.
Thank you, Farida. We'll have another quick round of interventions. Yeah, Wajahat, and then Leila. I'm being so senior, can call you all by your first name.
Of course.
Yeah.
Just a very brief comment. And Dr. Lee mentioned, of course, about the diverse nature of Muslim society in India. I just thought that it would be worth taking note of the fact that in Lakshadweep, one of our union territories, with a very small population, no doubt, the entire society is matriarchal, totally matriarchal. Till very recently, till the after independence, in fact, men were dispermitted from owning any property at all. Property was only owned by women. They're extremely.
It's a Muslim.
It's entirely
Muslim.
100% Shafi. And from there, it was a conduit from where Islam actually spread down through Sri Lanka into Indonesia. They have their language is Malayalam, and please don't tell them that you don't consider them to be Orthodox Muslims. They're extremely Orthodox, but they are also a matriarchal society. I think that would deserve more notice by the rest of the country.
You were there for several years at
as administrator.
And there is one place called Minikoi, which
Yes.
is entirely ruled by women.
Well, all of them are, in the sense that property is only owned by women. They have the joint family system, and the Karanavan is a male. That means the administrator is a male, but the owner is always a woman. And now recently, after the advent of independence, men have acquired the right to have bank accounts of their own and so on. Otherwise, it's becoming a problem for, in government, because the man happened to be employed in government, but the salary had to be go into his wife's account.
Good, very good, very good.
And Minikoi, of course, is different because Minikoi was earlier part of the Maldives and conquered by one of the sultans from the north. From the Maldives. So they speak the Divehi language, which is the Maldives language, and there they have a portion of the island reserved only for women. That means men are not allowed to enter that part of the island at all. So this is India. This is also part of India, and I think that it's something that should be taken note of. Although the population is only 60,000, but that in an area of 30 square kilometers, which is the size of the island territory. You can't accommodate very much more than that, but nevertheless, it is a signal, and Islam has been there. It is chronicled that Islam has been there since the 16th century. But in fact, while I was there, I saw graves which were in Arabic 127 Il-Hijj. the date was 127. So obviously, Islam has been there much longer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Leila?
Well, let me start, Wajahat, by telling you that my father used to give my mother his entire salary, and she used to give him a 100-rupee note to keep in case the car broke down. But to continue, I think we are having this exhibition mainly to show that Indian Muslim women are not stereotypes. But I think that's something that's and that I think has come out already. I think something that I want to say is that why are we having this exhibition here, and why are we making this point that Indian women aren't, Muslim women aren't stereotypes, is because we are being forced into that mold. You're going to hear me talk later, but I do want to say something to all of you, which I think is very important, that because we are being stereotyped, and because therefore we are going, as I think Farida said, sort of more into our communities to find strength and succor and understanding, we should not fall into that trap of stopping to introspect, to stopping to look at what we are and to fight against the injustices from our own community as well as outside. I think that a lot of Muslims today have become very nervous about criticizing ourselves because we feel that everyone else is bashing us anyway. But that is very dangerous and we should avoid it.
Any other interventions, please? Anybody wants to make a point? Noor. Hi, Noor.
This is a sari wearing, bindi wearing Muslim. Extending what Leila said, there are several schools of jurisprudence who have taken on the work of interpreting Islam, and most of their interpretations are aimed towards women. And this also I had come across when my book Denied by Allah was released, that this is not the right time to question these things like halala and muta and khula, the problems women face in demanding and getting khula. When are we going to address that, and what are we going to do? These schools, suddenly every 2-3 years they come up with an interpretation which says girls over 12 are not to attend schools which have co-education, or that women should be in Islam, should be allowed to get married at 12 or 15, or we should change the constitution for Muslim women. Kerala government even went on to do this for 6 months, where they said that it is because the visas and passports cannot be made for women, girls who have been married but cannot migrate to the Gulf. What are we going to do about that? It is, I think, very important that in this we address that, how we are going to challenge what is happening within.
नहीं, देखिए, जहाँ तक एक मिनट में आपसे जो अभी मोहतरमा नूर ज़हीर साहब ने बात कही है, बात ये है कि आप देखिए, ऐसा है 1935 में मुस्लिम शरीयत एप्लीकेशन एक्ट आया, लेकिन उसके अंदर खुला का प्रोविज़न नहीं था. उसके बाद मौलाना अशरफ अली थानवी ने, जो सुन्नी हनफी स्कूल के बड़े स्कॉलर थे, वो देवबंदी स्कूल ऑफ थॉट से ताल्लुक़ रखते थे, उन्होंने अल-हिलतुन नाजिज़ा नाम का एक किताबचा लिखा और उलमा को तवज्जो दिलाई कि मुसलमान औरत जो है उसको खुला का हक़, जैसे मर्द को राइट टू डाइवोर्स है, इसी तरह औरत के पास राइट टू सेपरेशन होना चाहिए. और दैट हैज़ बिकम पार्ट ऑफ द मुस्लिम शरीयत एप्लीकेशन एक्ट बाई एन अमेंडमेंट इन 1939. तो एक बात तो ये कि ये जो चीज़ कानून का हिस्सा बन गई है, उस पर अब कोई कुछ भी फतवा देता रहे, कोई भी राय देता रहे, वो हमारे लिए तस्लीम करने वाली नहीं है और मान्य नहीं है. एक बात तो ये हो गई. दूसरी बात ये कि हलाला जो है, बार बार उसका तस्करा होता है. हलाला की कोई गुंजाइश इस्लाम में उस तरह नहीं है जिस तरह के बताई जाती है. मुसलमानों की कुछ चीज़ें चिड़ बना ली गई हैं, उन्हें जलील करने के लिए कुछ चीज़ें बार बार दोहराई जाती हैं. उनमें एक हलाला भी है. मुसलमानों का कोई ताल्लुक़ और इस्लाम का कोई ताल्लुक़ قرآن کا کوئی تعلق، حدیث کا کوئی تعلق حلالہ سے نہیں ہے. میں یہ بات پوری طرح سے کہتا ہوں، اور جو یہ کرتا ہے وہ بنیادی طور پہ اسلام کے ساتھ دشمنی کرتا ہے اور مسلمانوں کے ساتھ زیادتی کرتا ہے. اس کا خیال رکھنا چاہیے. یہ بالکل اپنی جگہ طے ہے. حلالہ کا وہ تصور ہے ہی نہیں کہ آج صبح طلاق ہوئی اور کل دوبارہ اس مرد سے ری جوائن کرنے کے لیے کسی کے ساتھ شادی کرا دی گئی اور اس عورت کے لیے لازمی کر دیا گیا. یہ بنیادی طور پہ مرد کے کوکرموں کے لیے عورت کو سزا دینے کی اسلام کوئی اجازت نہیں دیتا ہے. اس بات کا خیال رکھنا چاہیے. ایک آخری بات جو مجھے کہنی ہے وہ یہ کہ متع کا جو معاملہ ہے اس پر میں کوئی بات اس لیے کہنے کے لیے اپنے کو کمپیٹنٹ نہیں مانتا چونکہ سنی اسلام میں متع کی کوئی گنجائش ہے ہی نہیں. اور فقہ جعفری کے اندر بھی جو اجتہاد ہوا ہے اور جس طرح سے مجتہدین نے اس سلسلے میں اپنا رویہ اپنایا ہے، میں سمجھتا ہوں وہ بہت سکاراتمک ہے، بہت پازیٹیو ہے، اور اس کی ہمیں قدر کرنی چاہیے. ایک بات کا یہ خیال رکھنا چاہیے، ہمیں یہ نہیں بھولنا چاہیے کہ یہاں پہ بہت سی باتیں کہی گئیں. میں اس کے باوجود کہ اس بات کو صحیح نہیں سمجھتا کہ مسلمانوں کو بلا وجہ چڑھایا جائے، لیکن میں یہ سمجھتا ہوں کہ مسلمانوں کو اپنے سوسائٹی کے اندر ایک انٹروسپیکشن کرنا چاہیے، ایک سیلف ریئلائزیشن ہونا چاہیے، ایک اسسمنٹ ہونا چاہیے کہ ہم اسلام سے کتنے قریب ہیں اور کتنے دور ہیں. میں سمجھتا ہوں اسلام سے جتنے قریب آئیں گے اتنی ہی یہ پرابلمز کم ہو جائیں گی، اور میرا خیال یہ ہے کہ شکایتوں کے اتنے موقع نہیں ہوں گے، چونکہ اسلام جو ہے وہ بنیادی طور پہ کیا میں ایک چیز کا سب سے پکا قائل ہے، توحید پہ کوئی سمجھوتا نہیں کرتا ہے. اسی طرح سے ظلم اور ناانصافی جو ہے اس کو گوارا نہیں کرتا ہے. اس بات کو خوب سمجھ لینا چاہیے.
Thank you so much. We are all out of time, but I think Padma ji is another boss of mine. She wants to say something. I just want to say that, gosh, I've lost my track. What did I want to say? What I want to say, پہلی جب میں نے شروع کیا یہ میٹنگ بہت کم لوگ تھے اس وقت، اس میں نے کہا کہ آج کل ہم لوگ سحری کے وقت قرآن ضرور پڑھتے ہیں. میں نے تو کہیں حلالہ کا لفظ قرآن میں بالکل پڑھا ہی نہیں ہے. And I feel that we have to go by the word of the Quran. We have to go because God is closer to you than your jugular vein. یہ تو قرآن کی آیت ہے کہ اللہ تعالیٰ آپ کی شہرک سے زیادہ نزدیک ہے. Anyway, having said that, and thank you very much for clarifying, I'll just ask Padma ji to make a brief intervention. Where is the mic? Noor.
Hello.
چھوٹا بولیے گا.
Religion, according to me, is a matter of faith.
نیچے کریے mic. You hold the mic for her. Hold the mic down.
Religion, according to me, is a matter of faith. I come from a conservative Hindu family of South India. My uncle, he could never walk in the evening without Abdullah. He was a very conservative Hindu man, a lawyer, but they have to walk together in the evening. The day will not end without their walk. After the walk is over, Abdullah will go his own way and do his namaz. My uncle will do his own prayers. What I am trying to say is this mixing of faith into the common stream of thinking and bringing into politics, it's more a political game. Otherwise, we were so happy. My friend was Amnu Bibi from the childhood. She used to come to our house. My daddy used to ask, which glass of water you gave, which glass you used to give her water. I used to say silver. Then she will say, okay. No other metal should be given to others, whether it's a Christian or a Muslim, according to her. But we children, we never had any difference. And because of my father's lenience as a freedom fighter, we never understood the difference between caste, religion. Religion is your personal thing, have it, but do not mix it up with and bring politics into it.
Thank you so much, Padma ji. Now I'll ask Khuda to announce the lunch so that we are right on time, dot of 1. Is there anything you wanted to say, Mohini ji? Last sentence?
I want to request this audience today that whatever you have done, please take it out. Go to the villages, go to the grassroots. Advocacy is different. Classrooms are different. Books are different. But go to those real people, please, who are really suffering today, and let us do something for that. In my own humble way, I've got a huge center in Kashmir where 100% Muslim children are there. They have never questioned me. They call me Dadi. They never question me who I am or what I am. In Najafgarh, I've got 99% children who are only Muslim children. They have never questioned me who you are and what you are. We are all peacefully studying. They are becoming beauticians. They are becoming hotel managers. They are having engineers. These are the jobs that they are getting. So please go back to the grassroots. Unless we spread this message of Saida to the grassroots, all this habitat center is absolutely useless. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohini, for chairing members on the dais. Thank you very much. And audience, you have been wonderful so far. Thank you so very much for having joined us this far. We do have 2 other sessions remaining, which will break open after lunch. So kindly do join us for lunch, which is outside. And we just have half an hour break. Kindly do come back after that. And thank you so much. Thank you.